I think that now you can all see the video screen, so we'll start again. Welcome to Drought, and before I start with the brief introduction to what to expect and what will be the activities happening today, we'll start with this short video that was produced in collaboration with IGRAC and IHE Delft.
A drought is a period of time when a region or area experiences below normal precipitation. The lack of precipitation, which can be either rain or snow, can cause reduced soil moisture or groundwater, general water shortage, diminished stream flow, and crop damage. Droughts are the world's second most harmful weather events after hurricanes. A drought may last for weeks, months, or even years. Sometimes, drought circumstances can exist for more than a decade. Even in the Netherlands, there is a drought season which starts on the 1st of April each year. Around that time, the water temperatures rise and trees and plants grow faster. The demand for water and therefore the chance for water scarcity increases. These circumstances can lead to a water shortage, which is what happens when there is less water than necessary. For example, when there is little rain and little water enters the Netherlands via our shared rivers, the Rhine and the Maas, the country becomes water scarce. However, the Netherlands may also face water scarcity outside the dry season, which is from October to March, but that is a slight chance. These water shortages not only make users explore other water sources, such as groundwater or harvesting rainwater, but to also change their day-to-day habits. So, what can you do to conserve water? You can steam your veggies. This helps cut water usage and retain more of the natural nutrients. If you do boil, try using the leftover water as a tasty stock for soups. Or let it cool and use it to water the plants. You can also turn off the taps. You can save 6 liters of water a minute by turning off the tap while you brush your teeth. You can also take shorter showers. Every minute you spend in a power shower uses up to 17 liters of water. Set a timer to keep your shower short. Another tip is to choose for quality and seasonal food. By cutting down on
Okay.
precipitation.
Thank you, everyone. I apologize for the small difficulties with this call. As you can see, we are freshly new into this digital habitat, and we was a very last minute change from the physical event to this digital version. So we are very pleased and glad to see so many participants. So welcome. I hope you enjoy this session. This conference is held in advance of the celebrations of World Water Day, which will happen this Sunday, the 22nd of March. And the theme of this year is water and climate change. For this reason, we chose the theme on drought, especially basing the case studies on the Netherlands and how can the Netherlands learn from nations abroad that have had previous experience on drought itself. What to expect? We will start the conference today by one of our panelists, Henk Oving, who I'm sure you already know of, who's the Dutch special envoy to the United Nations and flood expert. This will then be followed by 2 sessions provided by a water utilities company in the Netherlands named Dunea, and the speaker will be Verle. This session will be talking about a Dutch case study and a Dutch perspective. This will then be followed by lessons from abroad session, which will be presented by IHE students and an IHE staff member. This would be Pilani, Natasha, and Kim. We will finalize this webinar with a Q&A or discussion session, which I would recommend you and advise as the presentation goes along and this webinar to pitch up your thoughts and solutions on the chat area or the Q&A that you will find in the bottom of your screen, depending on where you have located the toolbar. After the conference itself, when we'll be holding this session, we'll be going over these solutions on how to mitigate drought in the Netherlands, and thoughts or questions directed to the panelists, and we'll be directing to them directly. With all this said, thanks again for joining us, and I will give now the floor to Henk.
Thanks, Anna. Does this work?
I can see.
Yes.
Do I see you? No.
Okay, can you see me? Okay, oh, that's interesting. I only see the presentation. Okay, hello, I'm Henk Oving, Special Envoy for International Water Affairs. I applaud IHE for immediately turning this around into a digital conference, knowing that water is such a critical issue, especially also in the context of the current crisis. Understanding water's complexity, therefore, is key. Since this is a youth summit or conference, why a 52-year-old water envoy from the Netherlands, you might ask? Well, it's only by working together, I can say, that we can deal with these water and climate and sustainable development challenges. And therefore, we need young and more experienced, as well as older partners and people to work together across the globe. My message will be very short, just to strengthen the voice that water is critical important in dealing with sustainable development and climate action, and also critically important in the context of health, as we see in the current corona crisis. With water, that our challenges become more dire. Climate change impacts us most profoundly through water. 90% of all disasters are water related, with more floods, more droughts, rain events, but also poorer health quality, undercutting our biodiversity, energy, food security, but also international security. So understanding that complexity comes first. Second comes managing water across our not only financial and economic values, but definitely also environmental, social, and cultural ones. If this understanding and value comes together, we are able to manage water better. If we manage water inclusively, by collaboration at all scales, we will find solutions across the sustainable development goals and inform better climate action. And this is, again, the mix where young and old need to work together. And I want to, applaud you for all your work and effort you're already doing around the world, but also show you that we can only do this together. This is not my generation that is putting the risk on your generation. This is something we have to deal with together. And I think the current crisis, again, puts more emphasis on that now. And I'm, of course, also a little bit worried that everything we put in place now, again, will make our world more vulnerable, that we shy away now from sustainable solutions and go for band-aid approaches that are short-term solutions, but will create more vulnerability in the future, as we've been done until this day. I often use the word stupid infrastructure as a business case, pays off on the short term, but it definitely makes us more vulnerable on the long term. And in a current and post-crisis situation, we can't fall back to these stupid investments. But that is the worry. So hold us accountable as the one in charge, but also become in charge. Join us in this on this table to help us develop more sustainable solutions. I want to wish you a great event, summit, and conversation. I look forward to your presentations and ideas, and know that around the world, wherever I was supposed to be, working together with the young is not only inspiration, but a critical necessity for sustainable water and climate action. So thanks again, IHE and partners, and thanks again to you all for continuing this effort. And in the background, I actually don't know if you see this image in the background of my room, but if you see the image, it's an image from Khulna in Bangladesh, where young people wash themselves in the river, which is still healthy. And their play, as Juan says, they're playing. Well, actually, this is a daily bathing ritual they take, and they, definitely also play. So, images by Cynthia van Elk, photographer from New York, and it's part of the Water as Leverage program. Wish you a great event, good luck, and also strong partnerships. By collaboration, we can deal with these challenges. Thanks, Anna.
Thank you, Henk, for such inspirational words. We will now move forward onto the first session. We'll be giving the floor to Verle from Dunea. And I will give you now the controls to the presentation. So if you would like to start, the floor is yours.
Yes. Can you all hear me?
So yes, if you can hear you.
Yes.
Yes, I'm getting replies. People can hear me, great. Okay, well, hello, welcome everyone. My name is Verle Smit. I work at Dunea. I'm a corporate strategy advisor, but I'm also a trainee. I will talk to you about drought and water today, and specifically a drinking water perspective, given that Dunea is a drinking water company. Well, so let me see. Yeah, the topics of today. I'll talk a little bit about drought. Of course, you already had the video introduction. Then I'll talk about water scarcity and water conservation. So what can be done in terms of saving water. You already had some tips, but I'll give some extra just in case. So drought. Well, there's this Dutch saying that God created the earth and the Dutch created land. And this saying kind of implies that we have plenty of water. And this is mostly the case, only we see more and more that drought is also a problem in the Netherlands. Behind you, there's a picture of an infiltration location of the Dunea. And you can see that there's, well, it's a very dry place. And it's not only the case for the drinking water sector. Like behind you, you see the Waal, the river de Waal. You see that there's a very low water level. And that's causing issues for the shipping industry. It's difficult for them to transport in an internal shipping industry. But also for agriculture, there's a dried out crops. This is a picture of 2018. Well, yeah, why this year? Well, this year was 2018 was a specifically dry year. On the right-hand side, you can see a map of the Netherlands. And it's actually displaying a surplus of water. But because it's red, it's in the minus, so there's too little water. You see the regions in the Netherlands. On the left-hand side, there is a graph. The black line is from 2018, and the red one is from the record year of 1976. And you can see that, well, at one point in July, the black line was big above it, so it was a very dry year. So even drier at some point than the record year. This eventually led to a water shortage, which is the second part of my presentation. On the 2nd of August, the government announced, the parliament, that there was a factual water shortage. And this was the case for multiple industries. The industries you can see on the right-hand side, it was also in the video in the beginning. And also a call for these industries to cooperate and together manage the drought and the shortage of water. So how do we organize that in the Netherlands? Well, we have the so-called verdringingsreeks. And the verdringingsreeks is a division of water. And it's actually a means of ranking and prioritizing the use of water. The first category is unavoidable damage. And this includes stability of flood defense, of course, because we're below sea level. So this is a very important means to avoid damage. But also the setting of soil. we have a lot of veen peat in the Netherlands, and once that dry out, it's irreversible. And this is actually different in relation to other countries in the EU. So we have a specific nature, and that's why it's category 1. The second category is public utilities, and this includes drinking water and energy. And this is included because it's actually, if you don't have it, a lack thereof causes societal dislocation. So it's very important that these utilities can progress. The third category is small-scale, high-quality use. So this includes capital-intensive crops, so expensive crops, and processed water. And the fourth category includes the remaining interests, so shipping, agriculture, fishery, recreation. So how do we manage the water in the Netherlands? We have divided competences. So we have the drinking water companies on the left. You can see Genea, the yellow one. That's our location, our production location, where we deliver water, where we supply water. And you have the water authorities. And the water authorities, so on the right-hand side, they actually, they protect us from floods or flood events, and they purify wastewater and sewage water. And then us, the drinking water companies on the left, we provide drinking water to the different areas of the Netherlands. For Genea specifically, this is how we produce water. You can see it on the presentation. We actually take water from the Afgedamde Maas, which is a river on the east of the country. Why do we do that? That's because the left side of the country is close to the sea, it's below sea level. There's a lot of salination in the groundwater, so we cannot take water from there. So we actually take water from the Afgedamde Maas. We bring it to a first purification step in Bergambacht, and then we bring it to the dunes. So Genea is actually a unique drinking water company because we're a drinking water company, but also we are a nature conservator. So we conserve nature as well. So we actually use our dunes to purify water, but we also protect our dunes. And the dunes are also a Nature 2000 area, so it's specifically European located nature area. We kind of use the dunes, but we also protect them and protect the nature over there. Well, in terms of drought, it caused a lot of difficulties for us as well, specifically the summer of 2018. First and foremost, you have evaporation, so there's less water. But there's also, because there's less water in the rivers, there's a higher percentage of pollution. But there's also issues with overheated pumps, but also conditions of nature, so in the dunes fires, and heating up the pipes. So the drinking water has a higher temperature, which can be dangerous. And not only on the drought side, but we also have increased demand because there's population growth in the area, because it's an urbanized area. Besides our work in the Netherlands, we also do work abroad. The Dutch drinking water sector is allowed to spend 1% of its revenue on projects abroad. And for us, right now we have projects in Mozambique and in Kenya. And there we work with the local drinking water companies to teach them or consult to them about the drinking water process, from finances, but also the technical parts. We help them with everything, but with the local company itself, so they can do it themselves in the end. So first Menti, I hope this works. Never done it like this before, but let's see.
Okay, so now I'm gonna take control, Verle, to go to Chrome, so we can see the results on the screen. But if I understand you well, we all need to go on our phones now.
Yeah, go on your phone, go to menti.com and fill in this code that's on the screen, so 496709.
Oops, sorry.
Maybe I'll just repeat the code for a couple of times.
Okay.
496709.
I think is in the background. One second. I'm going to share the screen so we can see the Mentimeter all together. Can everyone see the Mentimeter now?
I can see it.
Should I click to go to slide, Verle?
Yeah. What? No. Wait. No, this is the wrong one.
What's the other one?
Should I reintroduce the link?
Yes, 1 second. I'll just try to. Yeah.
You can do it yourself.
I think it is the same link. Try it again. What you just did. So go to present.
Okay, 1 second. Hold on. Okay, so it's all fine now, right?
Can you cancel it for 1 second? No, this is not the right slides. This is the last one, so I'm not sure why it's not working. The first question was how much water do you think you use?
1 second. I apologize, everyone.
You could also, can you show my screen? Okay, I can see it actually. I can see a lot of people answering to it. So I'm not sure why it doesn't work at your screen.
I'll
Maybe, Anna,
the...
can you also put my desktop on display?
Oh, yes, that's a good idea, actually. So we'll be doing a change of screens, everyone, just so you know. So Verle, you can start sharing your screen now.
How do I do that?
I think from the top.
Please, can you tell me where from the top?
So on your toolbar, there should be an instruction on how you can access the different options. And one of them should be shared screen. In the meantime, I'll try accessing the link again and we'll follow that solution.
Yeah, I can see perfectly fine here on my screen.
I think now it's fine. Let me go back to the Mentimeter I have. Is this the right one?
No.
No, can you go back to just menti.com?
This one?
Yeah, I think, yes. That's perfect.
For all the patients, to all the participants.
Yes, thank you. Sorry for this implication.
Okay.
Well, all of you have answered, I can see. So all of you think around 80, a little bit less. Well, I guess you can go to the next slide now, Anna. Is that
the next question or back to PowerPoint?
Back to the next question on Mentimeter. So the actual use of people of drinking water is on average in the Netherlands 119.2 liters per day. So it's actually a lot higher than you thought it was. And besides this, we have to bear in mind that this is only the domestic use of water. So this is only the drinking water we use, but there's also water going into food production, to our clothing, production of our clothing. And the actual water footprint is 4,000 liters per day. So there's a big difference there. Okay, you can go back to the PowerPoint now.
I'll give you back the controls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this brings me to the next part of our presentation, the water conservation. And there's actually a national communication message of the drinking water companies that there's a need of conscious use of water throughout the year. So what does DENEA do? What do we do in terms of saving water? Well, we have awareness campaigns and behavioral change of consumers. We try to influence that via education, but also via campaigns. We have a water conservation in cooperation with stakeholders and clients. So in terms of conservation, we have a lot of pilots in water reuse with the buildings of new houses that we try to make it circular. We encourage dialogue and meetings, but we also, ourselves, we try to save water in the internal use of DENEA. And on this slide, you can see a scan. So what goes in, what goes out, but also in terms of warmth or minerals, what can be reused. And we also want to offer this service to our clients. So we can help big companies like Drought, for example. We're busy with Drought right now, how they can do it. And we try to keep up with the trends and developments in society. Okay, let's try it again. Maybe this time it will work at once. Go to menti.com.
I'll take control of the mouse. I'll go to the share screen of Mentimeter again.
Yeah. You can go to the next Mentimeter. So, everyone, what do you already do in terms of saving water? To be honest here. Can people access it?
No.
Let's see in the chat.
Oh, maybe the code was 496709.
I'll put the slide again, just in case, for those who exited Mentimeter and need to rejoin. So can everyone now see the code to the Mentimeter?
I'll just
go to mentimeter.com and enter that code. Do not leave that page again because there will be another question popping up later.
Okay, so I think the Mentimeter is not really working, if I see from the panelists. This is a shame. Okay, so type in the chat. What do you already do in terms of saving water? Anna, I think you went to the next slide on Mentimeter, which is not the correct slide. So I can see eat less meat. That's a good one. People always forget that it's not only the water you consume directly, but also the water that's used in processing. For example, processing meat. Use sprinkling system for washing, cleaning and bathing. Yeah. Buy seasonal food. Yeah, you got that from the video in the beginning. No, but it's a good one. It's a good one. Buy clothes of sustainable cotton. Shower less, no meat. Flush less. If it's yellow, let it mellow. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Reuse gray water. So with the water tanks, maybe use this dishwasher. I think on its own it's not a fair means to shop less, shop secondhand. Well, this is rainwater harvesting. Yeah, that's a great one. Okay, can you go back to my presentation, Anna?
Yes, hold on a second.
Yes. Close shower, yeah. Well, I think a lot of your answers come back in the tips that we wanted to provide you. I'll go through them quickly. Check for leakage and have it repaired. So, for example, when the tap is just dripping, please fix it because it may seem like a little water, but it's actually a lot of water if you don't fix it soon enough. An efficient toilet flush or shower head, which uses less water. I think there was a lot of these comments as well. Don't leave the tap on while brushing your teeth. A lot of people do that. They just brush their teeth and they leave the tap on. Use a rainwater tank. I can see here, eat less avocados in the box. That's interesting. Wash with full load. So dishes and clothes, don't just put it on for just a single item. And shower instead of taking a bath. And with this, you can use a shower coach, like this one we have here. I'll talk about it later, how you can get your own shower coach, because we can provide you with one. But yeah, it actually times it, so 5 minutes in a maximum. And I'll elaborate on it later, how you can get your own. I think I still have a Mentimeter, but I'm not sure if it's going to work. Otherwise, I'll just...
Try one more time, maybe.
Yeah, Anna, is it?
For me, it's fine. I can see that. What can you do?
Yeah, but can you go to the Mentimeter?
Yes. And now the Mentimeter, I hear it's working.
Go to the next slide. Yeah. So how much do you think you pay per liter of drinking water? Oh, it's working. That's great. Thank you for bearing with us in these digital times.
I see
Okay,
we're getting
so
a lot
yeah.
of answers.
So yeah, the 0.008 wins kind of has 15 answers. Okay, well, shall we give the answer away? Wait for a little bit longer. Okay, Anna, can you go to the next slide on Mentimeter?
Of Mentimeter.
So this is the actual price you pay per liter. This is not a lot, right? This is very little money for a liter of water. So given that it's so little amount of money, how do you think you can get your peers to save on water? Can you go to the next Mentimeter, Anna? Okay, so a lot of answers. Raise awareness, get them to remember that if it's yellow, let it mellow, yeah. Restrictions on a policy level, and that's an interesting one because we as drinking water companies have limited competencies in terms of laying on restrictions. It's mostly with the government. Education, yeah, that's giving tips, of course. Make them aware of that in the Netherlands, yeah, because it's often thought that, well, as I said, God created the earth, the Dutch created land. Yeah, incentives among peers. Well, I think I'm going over time, so I'll read through all of the answers later. But there is a lot of interesting thoughts. Keep your questions in mind for the Q&A in the end. Then we can, yeah. Okay, Anna, I think you can go back to the presentation for my 5-minute showers, like the showers.
And I'll give you control again.
Yeah. So, thank you all for your time and attention, your consideration. My apologies about the malfunctioning of the Mentimeter at first, but in the end there were some very valuable answers. Thank you all for that. And I think if you have any questions, I think we'll put those in the Q&A, right, Anna?
Yes. So any questions that you have, put them in the Q&A section of the webinar, that you can find it in the toolbar. This goes to all attendees. Thank you, Verle.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Okay, so I'll stop controlling. So now we will be moving on to the second session of this online webinar. Thank you to all participants, and again, thank you to Verle for the previous session. This will be presented by Kim Natasha Pilani from IHE Delft, 1 staff member and 2 students. And now I'm going to give control of the presentation to Pilani. And just, I want to give a kind reminder to all attendees that if they have any questions or they want to pitch up their solutions on how they would mitigate the impacts of drought in the Netherlands or how to prevent it, just upload it in the Q&A session. Pilani, the floor is yours. One second, Pilani. I'm going to unmute you. Let me take hold of the mouse again. I still can't hear you. Okay, now I can.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Just in time.
Okay.
All right, so let me just get into it then. Okay, Philani Cabani, I'm a student at IHE. I'm currently studying sanitary engineering. So I'll be speaking about day 0. Ooh. Okay, let me start. Oh, technology. Oh, God. Ah, yes. Okay. So, so most of you guys know where Cape Town is. So it's located on the southern tip of Africa. So there's a population of about 3.9 million people. And just to give some context, there's 14% of the population that lives in informal settlements. And I wanted to just touch on the political status of the region because the province and the city is run by the opposition government. And then the national government runs the national government runs the bulk supply. In any case, before day 0, Cape Town receives about 500 milliliters of rainfall. This usually occurs in the winter months, over 3 months, every year. And then there was a drought coming, like, everyone knew that there was a drought coming, but you know what happens. And most of the drinking water supply comes from surface water. So before day 0, they needed to decrease water consumption by almost half, like from 100 million megaliters to about below 500 million liters per day. So I'm going to show you a clip just to give you, so you guys can see how this affected our domestic users, the different types of domestic users. Clip. No. Okay.
Should I move on to the next slide?
Yes, please. I thought I was clicking, eh? Okay.
Should I play the video?
Yes, please.
So we have a short video for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Good morning, Cape Town. This is Small Breakfast with Bobby and Lindy. Welcome to a new world, a world where we live with as little water as humanly possible. Good morning, Cape Town. This is Small Breakfast with Bobby and Lindy. Welcome to a new world, a world where we live with as little water as humanly possible.
If you're in a city that's running out of water, what are your choices?
Someone looks over the wall and sees you've still got a green lawn, you're in big trouble.
Water is not going to be a short-term issue. If it was a short-term issue, I don't think I would have put a borehole down to go and get our own water. This present time, we'll be down to 50 litres a day per person, which is really nothing.
This is the lowest rainfall we've had in 400 years. For a government, making that kind of day 0 announcement has massive political risk in it. people suddenly blaming you that you can't manage this properly, etc., etc. If something like a drought comes along 3 years in a row, it really does get you to think differently, to behave differently. We cannot use water like we used to. It is serious, and it still will be serious. We've got a city that's growing. We've got economies that we want to grow. We've got high unemployment rates in our country. We need to grow the economy. And to grow the economy, we need to have water as part of it.
There's absolutely nothing I can do without water. The survival of my business depends on water. My survival depends on water. My children, they depend on this water. Before the drought, I used to have a pipe and the high pressure. Yeah, but now the municipality guys, they asked us to use the buckets. I used to make 15 and more cars a day. So now plus minus 7 cars. So you know that you see the difference. In South Africa, the poor people are always a target. If they want to blame for misusage of water, they will blame you. Maybe if they can just be in my shoes, maybe they will feel what I'm feeling. But unfortunately, they can't, because they have a salary, which we don't. They have benefits, which we don't. If we don't come here, we don't eat.
The thing is that I look at this, and we were just joking with some other friends the other day, and I said, you know, we've all got this state-of-the-art bathrooms. This is Italian marble and all this, and these beautiful bathrooms, and now we can't use them, you know. That's the bath bucket, the famous bucket, where the toilet paper goes in. No toilet paper in the loo. And then that's the jacuzzi, which is not usable.
And then without amanzi sozuthi, because yonke into yenziwa ngantoni ngamanzi. Okay, endlini yam sisonke sisobane nomyeni ngabantwana nam sisebenzisa i-10 litre and a half. Kubakho amaxesha mos amanzi acothe kumayitepini, so ufumaniseke uba funeka sifole ilayini apha etepini, so iba ngumzuzu. And then kaloku iitepo apha zimbalwa, umntu mninzi. So ndinale wela xhala uba Thixo enoba singanjani mhlawumbi.
Our daily consumption is currently at 511 million litres a day. I don't know about you, Bobby. I skipped my shower this morning.
You did?
Yes, I did.
When you walked in.
Oh, no, don't be like that. I'm at about 1 litre a day.
I'm generally quite a mild-mannered person, but it makes my blood boil to see when people are wasting water, especially since, you know, at home I'm trying my best. But yeah, I was driving the other day through a certain neighborhood, and there was somebody just hosing their paving down with the garden hose. And I've never done this in my life before. I was actually quite shocked at my reaction, but I wound down the window and I went, "Oi! You're not supposed to be doing that." And he had this, you know, devil-may-care kind of attitude, and it really, really annoyed me. So I reported him.
Because of plummeting supply and skyrocketing demand, water shortage is fast becoming the norm the world over. And this means that we're all going to have to educate ourselves about using our most valuable resource a lot more mindfully. We've been forced by necessity to come up with many innovations to stretch our water supply.
Yeah, exactly. We don't see the water like we used to maybe 3 years ago.
Exactly.
I think it's going to be a whole new way of life. I'm pretty certain no one's ever going to revert back to where we were.
Just because it's happening in Cape Town, it doesn't mean it's the last city it's going to happen.
I don't foresee any improvement. It's going to continue, and I'm worried.
Well, Cape Town Day Zero might have been pushed back so far that we might not even see it in 2018, but it is still definitely looming.
There are 120 cities around the world that are very, very serious water situations. This is not only Cape Town's problem. This is so many of our problems.
Okay.
Okay, am I in control now?
Hold on a second.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Now you should have the controls.
Okay. So, because I saw people are complaining that they couldn't see the video properly, I think maybe I can share the link to the full video afterwards. And like the video just wanted to highlight how different domestic water users were affected by the campaign, because it was applied throughout the city. So the campaign was quite successful there. There was other interventions that the municipality had, like pressure management, but Day Zero campaign was the most effective. And it lasted for maybe 6 months. And then winter came that year and it suddenly rained. And then the campaign was stopped. Next slide. Come on.
Maybe try the space bar. No. Okay, I'll pass on the next slide.
Okay, I think you should then next time. Okay, I'll just take one takeaway from it. I think the takeaway from Day Zero is that like people need a crisis to change behavior, because for years and years they've been trying to tell people to save water, to try and reduce the water consumption to about half. Because the water consumption in Cape Town is about 220, it's like almost double than it is in the Netherlands, and we get less rain, so it's kind of ridiculous. So we're actually trying to reduce it to half to match the Netherlands. And next slide, please. And just, I wanted to show the slide just to see if actually there was change in behavior, because right now you can see after Day Zero, there was a big dip. And then straight afterwards, people are going back to their old habits. So I'm not sure if you can say that there was actual behavioral change. Yeah, but it's still the intervention was still quite useful because things could have been way, way, way worse. Eh? And can you go to the last slide? Oh, yeah, the last slide. Eh? Yeah, and on a potting shot, because people just had 50 liters of water per day. Everyone was restricted to that. So I wanted to ask our attendees, like, what would you do with 50 liters? Just think about it. Like if you just had 50 liters, think of like 5-10 liter buckets, very small buckets. Eh? So just think for yourself, like, how would you manage in your daily life? And thank you. That is it from me. I can pass it over to Kim.
Thank you, Pilani. I think that was a very insightful exposition of the case study of Day Zero in Cape Town. I'm sure that it would have ignited some new thoughts to some of the participants that they can contribute in the Q&A session afterwards.
Okay, let me check that out, actually.
Okay, so Kim, if you can hear us, I'm gonna leave this space to you now.
Yeah, so I think you can hear me now too?
Yes, we can. Yes. I'm going to give you the controls of the presentation now.
Okay.
But before I do so, would you like me to go to the Mentimeter?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this is the old one. And now
I think the next one.
This one?
Yeah. There's again.
Do we need a new code?
The first question was missing.
What would you save water on?
No, the first question was how would you spend 50 liters? Oh, that's too bad.
That's okay. We can start with this one.
Okay, yeah, let's do that then. So, yes, I would like to ask our audience, given the presentations of Veerle and Pilani that you have just seen, how would you, what would be the what uses of water
that you would be saving on if you had to?
And just let me share with everyone that let them know that there's the link to the Mentimeter in the chat section. So to go to the Mentimeter, you can access it through that link.
Yes, and then you get the question, what would you save water on if that was necessary? And you can select options, as you can see here. And there are different options. Options that you might have not thought of before. There's only one option, drinking water. That's the domestic use, basically. But there are many other uses for water. For example, the stability of dikes, flood defenses, nature, energy supply. So please rank them in an order that you find the most relevant or most applicable. So you have 2 minutes. Can we see the answers coming in?
Yes.
Somewhere.
Oh,
I think there was a typo. But it should be coming in somewhere, right? Yeah.
I believe, Kim, that we are missing the code to the live results to this Mentimeter.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I would advise to continue with the presentation that you have prepared. And then as we're doing the Q&A, you can look for the results that the participants will be answering to.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So I'll go back to the presentation now.
Just let me see if I can, oh, okay, yeah. Let's continue with the presentation. So,
and I'll give you the controls.
If everybody has filled in their rankings, they can compare it with the the current plans in the Netherlands. Veerle already touched upon that a little bit, but here you can compare it with your own choices. First and foremost, the Netherlands has decided, or the first priority in the Netherlands is using water for safety and nature. So safety means dikes, stability of dikes, and nature. There are certain processes in nature that cannot be reversed. So that's our first priority. And only after that are the utilities. Yeah, so the Mentimeter is no longer active. Okay, so the utilities are drinking water and energy supply, and then after that there is well, a high quality use like expensive crops, and then only after that there is recreational use and all the other uses that you could choose of. So yeah, we cannot compare, but I hope you're somewhere in the you had some of the something along the same lines here. In the next slide, it's not responding. Yeah, in the next slide, this is how South Africa has divided the water. So in South Africa, there is this National Water Act that says that the environment has the right to use the water that falls, the rainwater that falls in that area. So you cannot use that. No one owns the water resources in the Republic of South Africa. So that that means that there's not all the water that falls is available. In the Ja, ik ben bezig met de presentatie. Sorry. So you can see in the rest of the water, 2/3 of it is being used for agriculture. It's very difficult to save water there, and also you'll be menacing with a food chain. And all the other water uses it's not that much. It's only 3 or 2%. So here, this is a very obvious picture to see why they chose to save on domestic water. And it makes a lot of sense if you look at this pie chart. So they did. Yeah, this is one of the. I found it a very nice image of how they managed to save so much water. Pilani already explained all the uses that all the things they thought of when they won. They managed to avert day zero, but of course the risk is never far away of getting there again. So to answer the question that Pilani ended with, I'm not sure if you can see all this. My screen is, yeah. What can you do with 50 liters a day? Well, you can use it to do the dishes and the laundry. And you will use 18 liters for that. And then you can have a shower for 1.5 minutes, which is like 15 liters already. Then you can flush your toilet once, which means you collect the whole day and you flush it once. It needs 9 liters. Then you can use another 3 liters for your daily hygiene, 2 liters for cooking, 2 liters for drinking water, and then you have 1 liter left for your dog. So that's really, really not a lot. If you look at the water use in around the world, I think this next slide. Yes, here, let me move our heads somewhere else. So, for example, in the United States, the liters per person per day used is almost 400, between 300 and 400 liters per day, which is a lot more, of course, than Hong Kong, Singapore, Britain. It's already it's also triple of these 50 liters, and then Malaga, which is in Spain, also quite a dry area. It's still almost double the amount that they were allowed to use in Cape Town. So that's impressive. What I wanted to share. Thank you for that. In India, apparently the use is 135 liters per day per capita. So what I wanted to share with you is, of course, this was approaching a crisis, day zero, and everybody, got together and tried to avert this crisis. It's a bit like the crisis we're in now, because we think we know it's temporary, then you are able to deal with a bit more than you would be if you thought it would be forever. In Israel and Palestine, we have a project. Can we have the next slide, please? Yes, we have this water scarcity is sort of permanent, which also makes that people live with it every day, and they're not trying to avoid a crisis. There's not that much water to live with, and it makes a different behavior. So this is the area that we work in. You can see Jerusalem, and this is the Dead Sea, and in between is the Sinai Desert, and it looks like a river, but this is, well, not even in winter, basically. There's in Jerusalem, there is a source, and if it's really, really, really full, it gets to here, but most of the time it's already empty somewhere here, somewhere at the beginning of the basin, and it never reaches the end. So the landscape there looks a little bit like this. Yeah. So it's really sandy and yeah, your typical desert town. We got there and we asked the kids on how they perceive water. Where does it come from? Where does it go? No, it's not starting. Well, maybe that's not too bad.
Should I give you a hand?
I think this one should be a play.
No, I'll do it.
Yeah. Up here. Yeah.
Let me
drawings of.
Leave me the mouse, Kim.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are drawings of school kids on where the water comes from that they use and where it goes. As you can see, their typical source is rain, but not a lot. Only a few of them drew rain clouds, and all of them drew these black boxes on the rooftops, which is basically bought water brought by tanks. You buy per tanker, and that's how people in that region get their water. So you can imagine how expensive and how rare you are if you have to buy a new bucket of water every time you need it. Yeah, so do I have the mouse again? Yeah. But even there, even if these people are so aware, their water use is more than we saw in Cape Town when day 0 was arriving. So you see, they don't use that much water on washing hands or cooking or even a shower is okay. Most of the water is used in flushing the toilets and gardening, which is which is easy to save on in a way. So it's education and how can you save on water? How can you save on flushing the toilet? How can you save on gardening? And then there are really big lessons or big steps to be taken if possible. So that's why we started this project. We are educating the people, discussing with them on raising awareness on how they can save even more water. It's a bit weird because it's a very poor community, as Pilani already also mentioned. You know, it's always the poor people that already don't have a lot of water. Because if you cross the border to Israel, you know, that's a very wealthy nation, and they have plenty of water. They can buy more if they need. And these people are already using the minimum, and they are thinking of how to save even more. So it's one of the things with water, it also enlarges the differences between poor and rich. But so still, you know, we're raising awareness, and we build a small treatment plant so that they can use their wastewater and it gets clean enough so they can use it for irrigation for their fields and their crops. So no water goes to waste. So as you can see, I think that's the takeaway from this presentation, is that it's really easy to use a lot of water, more easier than you think. You use more than you think, but at the same time, it's also very doable, very feasible to save a lot of water if you're conscious about it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Kim, for your very nice presentation, despite of the technical difficulties that we are encountering during this webinar.
Too bad of the Mentimeter. Sorry.
I'm very pleased to see that we still have a quite large group of engaged people. Thank you for continuing to be with us. We are now moving on the last part of this online conference, and here is where we have invited where we have invited the audience to send their questions, pitching up their ideas on how to mitigate the drought situation in the Netherlands. I see that we have 11 open, but 8 have already been answered by Martijn in Dunea. Perhaps it would be good to bring these questions that have been answered back into discussion so Martijn can voice their response to everyone. So I'll start with the first one that says, it seems that the current global trend is pushing nations into isolation, first commercial and now reinforced by the crisis. How political isolation impacts our capacity to deal with water scarcity? Martijn or Verle, if you would like to answer this question.
I'm trying to find it. Where's the question at? And I didn't answer it, so if it's Martijn, then he should. But let me see, where's the question?
Toolbar of Q&A.
In the bottom?
Where you have all the options, you will be able to see all the questions and answers.
But do you mean the question and answer with the first one saying it says, please wait for the presenter to show the next slide?
No.
Then I'm not having the right question box.
I think Martijn has the link. So if Martijn is listening, I would like to call him to the floor.
There you are.
I don't know if Martijn is with us. So Verle, where you will see there's participants chat and muting or putting your video, you should have a Q&A option, and that will take you to the Q&A page.
Please, can you repeat that?
So there's mute, Q&A, share your screen.
But when I go to the Q&A, I get like
open ones. So if you go to answered,
yeah, oh, this
the
okay.
first one at 2:18 p.m.
Yeah. Okay, let me see. It seems that current global trend is pushing nations into isolation. How political isolation impacts our society to deal with water scarcity. Yeah. So basically what Martijn says, in the Netherlands, yes, we are 10 drinking water companies and we all have our own regions, but we do collaborate amongst each other, but also across border. So we have the Riva Maas, for instance, which is the branch organizations for all the river water companies. We have Fabin, which is the branch organization for the Dutch drinking water companies. I worked there for a year as well. And we have all sorts of collaborations abroad with different countries as well. So for example, agreements on what kind of pollution of industry there's in water, or for example, with how much water we extract, because there's some water coming from Germany into our country. So yes, well, political isolation, I think in the Netherlands, it's not really the case, but maybe some experts who do the global projects can elaborate on that.
Okay, thank you, Verle. So I was scrolling through quickly to other questions, and I saw that many people have pitched up the idea of using stormwater harvesting to mitigate the effects of drought in the Netherlands. So I would like to address this question to all panelists present, to be able to elaborate if they see it as a viable solution to be applied in the Netherlands.
Stormwater harvesting. It's, well, we have a lot of rain. So if we can make sure that we save, or that it's not our current way of dealing with all that rain is making sure that it's as quick as possible, getting rid of in the rivers or in the sea. That's how we did it for decades. We were pushing all the water out and over our dikes or into the sea. So the new policy is to contain it, or to collect it and to contain it where possible, so that we have something that we can fall back on in the summer. I think that's very viable, but of course we cannot save all the rain because it's too much in the winter. That's my opinion. But I'm guessing Veerle knows much better than I do. But
yeah, well, it's actually what you said before, that with in 2018, when the summer was that dry, the Dutch government organized this beleidstafel droogte, which is a policy table for drought, and it was kind of a research method to see how the Netherlands can now cope with drought. And a part of it is indeed different measures to retain water. So it's definitely an option which is being explored right now. And also for drinking water companies, they need to have a certain amount of storage so they can cover periods of drought. And yeah, so yeah, it's definitely a viable option.
Can I add a little bit to this? Because I agree. Also with the first comment is that in the Netherlands, the system was to make sure that we are not bothered by too much water. Right now, you see our drinking companies stepping up. Vitens actually already started with a blue panorama scenarios for the future with more water scarcity. Really looking at landscape approaches on how to deal with water scarcity, recharge the aquifer, bringing it back, holding the water longer, which for the Netherlands still is an interesting case. The second, although 2018 is 2 years ago, that we had our second driest year, but the longest period of drought. Still in the east of the Netherlands, we have a water deficit. So although it's been raining quite a bit, because our system is not destined to hold the water, but to get rid of the water. It's not completely true, because we rely a lot on surface water for drinking water industry and agriculture. So we also have a system of capturing the water, cleaning the water in a natural way. So it's a little bit of a mix, but I think especially in parts of the Netherlands where we can hold the water more in a landscape type of approach. The second part has to do with which you also see in a lot of places around the world in cities. Two examples from Mexico and Chennai really compare well with the Dutch case, is where in Mexico and Chennai, all the water falls in at once, you could say. The whole yearly amount the city might need falls only in a couple of days. And then it's a long period of drought. So how do you ensure that you capture that water? And these cities are now, their surfaces are all hardened. So the water gets polluted above the ground and flows back either into the sewage or into the sea. And neither the sewage is designed for cleaning the water, reusing the water. It's designed to take the water away. And then in the sea, there's only more pollution. And at the same time, the aquifer is more depleted. So the city starts to sink. A more circular, granular approach on the scale of a community or parts of the city can really help recharge, clean the water, mitigate flood risk events, and then help recharge the water. While at the same time, if there are examples what we are testing now in, for instance, Chennai, with nature-based solutions, it's only not mitigating flood risk, but also mitigating heat island effects, capturing carbon, and ensuring that there are alternatives for desalination by using as much of the water that even though it's scarce, that these cities have. So it's interesting to see there are different parallels with different parts of the world that from a first perspective have nothing in common,
from the rivers, but it's also rainwater that is being stored in the dunes. So yes, it's definitely viable options, and we're already using it.
And there's another challenge in our infrastructure, because the infrastructure is not designed for these extremes. And you should really wonder, if you leave it up to the engineers, they just design bigger infrastructure, which is not the solution because it's only for extremes. Mexico City now has 100 meters below the surface, massive pipeline that captures all the drainage water and the stormwater and let it flow out of the city without reuse, which is crazy because this is their asset. So they spend billions of dollars on stupid infrastructure that's not, is only going to make them more vulnerable. So really understanding the value of water, of how you can reuse it, clean it, reuse it, recharge in aquifer, but also reuse it in your industry and with agriculture is critically important. So I think a systemic, more circular approach to water, especially in those places where extremes are extreme, is critically important, inspirational, brings in a lot of capacity and innovation and opportunities, and does not get rid of the water, which of course is the most important.
Yeah, and on an EU level, they're also setting a lot of standards in terms of quality of water, so that in the EU, a lot of countries can use it for irrigation, for example. There's momentarily laws being set up to cover that. So it's being made possible and being made easier as a EU, at least for the EU, to reuse water. Yeah.
Linking it to the EU, there is a question from one of the participants that says, how do you reflect on future changes in the river basin of the Rhine and Meuse across the Dutch border? Glaciers in Switzerland declining, rumors of Germany wanting to harvest more water using their lignite mines. How do our panelists foresee this? This is the question done by Neil at 3:15 p.m. 16, sorry. I guess this links into the challenges that the Netherlands faces, and there's also another question that there are some participants wondering what are the challenges that the Netherlands faces when, in terms of management of the water and its geomorphology of the country, if it implies any challenges in delivering the water, such as the case of Dunea from the dunes all the way to pass.
Well, I know for the summer of 2018 there were some issues with drinking water, but in the end there was no problem because tap water kept coming out of the sink. But for instance, there was a lot of salination of the water. With the IJsselmeer, there was some issues that some parts were salinated. But then Rijkswaterstaat and PWN, because that's the drinking water company there, they cooperated and made sure that drinking water still came out of the tap with a little bit higher level of salination, but still well below the lawful rate. Also, there is a measure that we can do that reduce the pressure in the pipes. And in some parts of the infrastructure, in some parts of the summer, the pressure was reduced a little bit, but most of the time this wasn't necessary yet. So I think the drinking water sector in the Netherlands is well equipped to, in dry periods, to cope with drought. However, in the future, this could be different. So that's why we keep on trying to invent new measures to do so.
And now for a point of comparison, we have a question to another of the case studies presented in this online conference that I would like to invite Natasha to answer the question live. Is directed to her, she has requested to answer it herself, and it's regards to her case study of South Africa, where wealthier residents are diversifying their water resources. How is groundwater extraction regulated? This question was asked at the 3 minutes 15 p.m. Natasha?
15. Just looking for the... Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, just to introduce myself, I'm Natasha. I'm a student here at IHE, but I'm also from Cape Town, and I work for the National Ministry of Water and Sanitation in South Africa. I'm just trying to look for the question. Oh wait, I see it now. Yeah, so for South Africans, where we saw wealthy residents who are able to afford to drill their own boreholes for their water uses, it became quite prevalent. And in fact, with the day zero that came up, a lot of people were actually exploiting that opportunity because, for example, people whose swimming pools were running dry, and there was actually people who would then drill boreholes and tank water to fill people's swimming pools and make money off the whole thing. So in terms of groundwater regulations, it is done by national government. And so it was very difficult to control, especially within a local government setting. And it's very difficult to monitor also because the whole of Cape Town is pretty much on a very big aquifer. And so people have easily, if you have money, you can easily drill a borehole and find water. So what happened was that, so there are regulations around it. From our National Water Act, you can drill it. You have the right to drill a borehole, but you can only use up to 2,000 liters per day. So it's only for very small water users. And so for domestic supplies, that was seen as okay. You don't have to go through any authorizations or anything to do that. But monitoring it obviously is very difficult to do, and you don't really know how much water is being used by anyone at any given time. So that still remains quite a big problem just to be able to monitor. In terms of other uses like agriculture and industrial uses, where you are using more than 2 megaliters per day, then they would have to apply for an authorization, and you would have to get permission to use that water. But on a smaller scale, it's very difficult to monitor, and I'm not really sure how they will, unless they enforce everybody to register their water use and have it metered, which I think will be highly unlikely. That's just how that happened.
Thank you, Natasha. Perhaps it would be interesting to compare if any of the panelists know the answer in a comparison to the Netherlands. How is the groundwater regulated here? Is there anyone looking at it?
For Dunea, we use surface water mostly from the river, but then we infiltrate it in the dunes. So technically, you could see that as groundwater. We have it's actually regulated by the province, so the county. They regulate it, so they regulate the abstractions of water from groundwater, and in terms of making the production of water possible in the future, we cooperate with the province as well to see where we can extract it.
Thank you, Verle. I can say also that for Delft, a very small city between The Hague and Rotterdam, they have monitoring stations throughout the whole city, and by doing so, they control the groundwater table, how it fluctuates. As other presenters have explained, there is quite a heavy rainfall when it's in the winter months, and there is a continuous flushing, and they require the monitoring of the groundwater, otherwise they would be experiencing the opposite to droughts, which would be floods. There was one question, moving on to the next one, that someone asked that since the Dutch drainage system is designed for a certain water use, they are wondering if it would be affected or if there would cause any problems if this certain water usage runs too low or too dry. For the panel, sorry.
I think we covered this question in the sense that it is a new occurrence in the Netherlands that there's so much drought, and there are many initiatives nowadays to kind of combat it. And I think what Henk also said perfectly covers this question.
Yeah, I think so too. And I unfortunately have to drop off.
No problem. We are actually about to close the webinar. This was the last point to be raised. Okay. Thank you for everyone joining us today. It's been a pleasure to host everyone in this call, and thank you for bearing patient and remaining with us until the end, despite of all the technical difficulties. I would like to personally give thanks to all the panelists and presenters and everyone who contributed toward the delivery of this online conference. A special thanks to Water Youth Network for hosting this Zoom call. And I would like to make an announcement to these participants. Also, thank you to you for being with us. And the 13 first members that registered online, and they are Netherlands-based and are able to make a collection. After this whole current crisis that we are living in, caused by coronavirus, and for this reason why we are delivering our conference in a digital form, I would like to, after all of this is over, to invite you to collect a book that UNESCO has donated to the first 12 registered participants based in the Netherlands, which is on droughts and Anthropocene. Those will be notified by email. And in addition to this announcement, I would like to invite Verle to make an announcement from the DUNEA itself.
Yes, so as I already hinted towards in my presentation, we have this shower timer, and we actually wanted to give it out during the conference. Sadly enough, due to the corona measures, it is not possible. Yet we still have the shower timers, and if you want one, you can pick them up in due time at one of our production locations. We're not sure yet how long the measures against corona are gonna take. So in due time, so when the measures are passed or over, we will send you more information on how to get the shower timers. So yeah, that's the message.
Okay, well, thank you again, everyone, and I hope you have a nice afternoon. Just as a brief insight, all these outcomes and solutions that we have discussed and gathered during this call will then, they would not end in this call itself, but they will be taken to higher level panels by Henk, who was present here today, and also members of the Water Youth Embassy of the Netherlands. So all of this conversation from this youth message that we gathered today will be delivered to experts and other conferences that will happen further in the year. Thank you everyone again, and have a good afternoon.